Good evening. The Jackson Public School Board meeting is now called to order. Board members, we have 4 members present, therefore we have a quorum. We've all had an opportunity to review the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Dr. Harrison is moved. Ms. Hilliard is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. We've all had an opportunity to review the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the March 5th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board members, and to everyone who's joining us. We'll begin, as we typically do, with our highlights reel from the ITV team.
Ms. Brewer.
A surprise presentation by WAPT to McLeod Elementary first grade teacher, Lucia Brewer.
These are first graders. They're some good, strong workers and listeners, and they're just a wonderful group of kids.
Selected as the Alice Clark Education Award recipient
30 years here in McLeod.
for her dedication to educating JPS scholars.
If you have a passion for the kids, that's the main reason to seek out for, to want to help the kids, because they need it.
Did you all know that the more you read, the smarter you will be?
In celebration of Read Across America Week, JPS scholars across the district engaged in reading activities.
Making sure that they are proficient in their reading skills. It matters that we build a community around that.
Community members who read to scholars, emphasizing the importance of literacy and imagination.
I want to see the end of the rainbow.
And never mix up your right foot from your left. Your left.
They are competing against each other in fiction stories and nonfiction.
To wrap up Read Across America Week, Cardozo Middle School hosted a reading fair.
Revel in literacy and how much we love books and a culture of books.
JPS scholars showcased visual displays representing books they read.
Like happiness to just imagine it, and because it's a fantasy world and you get to just create it in your own way.
It's impressive to see them be able to articulate what they've put on the board.
Displays were judged for creativity and imagination.
Great information and helped me to be able to understand what is really going on.
Many scholars were honored with awards for their hard work.
We gather here to witness the transition of responsibility from one dedicated leader to another.
The focus of our program is leadership and character development.
A gathering of family, friends, and JPS JROTC cadets. New cadet leadership, including Brigade Commander, was formally installed, marking a significant transition in the JPS JROTC program.
You are the future. Thank you all. God bless America. One team, one fight. Have a great night.
And now, a look at some of the renovations happening at Pecan Park Elementary School.
Here was an area that we call the greenhouse. The translucent ceiling and translucent greenhouse panels on both sides. They leaked, are installing a new standing seam metal roof and new curtain wall windows on either side. On either side, we removed the stucco. We've installed the vapor barrier. We'll get new exterior doors here. See the black piping that we see everywhere? That's part of the new drainage system to carry the water away from the building. But this section of the building will receive cementous panels instead of the metal wall panels. The entranceway has been squared up. We've installed the vapor barrier. Contractors are starting to install the clip system, the rigid insulation for the new metal wall panels. The concrete here was repoured and the new structural staircase installed. Some of the new air handling units that are being installed in all of the classrooms. The renovations include new chillers, new boilers, all new air handling units for each office space, classroom, the cafeteria. Completion date will be July 15th for all of the interior work. We may be still working on some things exterior, like the sidewalks. We get new sidewalks and canopies at each entrance.
Visit our website at jackson.k12.ms.us. Follow us on Facebook at Jackson Public Schools, on Instagram at JPS Student Voices, on Twitter at JPS District, Comcast channels 18 and 19, and YouTube at youtube.com/JPSITV.
As always, we want to thank our team for providing us with those updates. Lots of really cool things continue to happen throughout our district, and just excited to bring all of that to you. We're keeping busy, board members. Several quick updates that I want to provide, and I'll try to be brief with these tonight. One, I do want to just highlight that we've continued. Well, I'll speak to this first. All right, so announced today, the Mississippi Department of Education has shared the finalists for the 2024 Mississippi Administrator of the Year, which happens to include our very own Dr. Sarah Harper, principal of McWillie. We are very, very proud of Dr. Harper. We continue to be just so impressed by her work and just thankful for her leadership here in the district. And we are confident that she will bring it on home to JPS, the State Administrator of the Year, and that she won't stop there. You had...
I just whispered to Frank, I taught her when she was an undergraduate student.
Well, you're the reason why she's the soon-to-be State Administrator of the Year.
Wonderful
you're the reason.
Young woman, wonderful.
We're very proud of her. And so the Administrator of the Year program honors an administrator who demonstrates superior ability and inspires teachers, employs exemplary leadership, and practices and participates in an active member of the community. And so it's more than just leading your school, but what you do in the broader community. The recipient will receive a $5,000 stipend and will share their expertise through various presentations and professional development offerings and activities for the improvement of education throughout the state. The Administrator of the Year will be announced April 26th. So keep your eyes and ears peeled because we're hopeful.
Is there any kind of campaigning that we can do?
Yeah.
Well, listen, Mr. McGuffey, I certainly wouldn't tell you no. I don't even know who makes the final decision, but I'm just confident that we've got a strong case. All right. In addition to that, I just want to share a few other things. We've continued our efforts around strategic planning. I met just last night with our teacher advisory committee, met I believe it was last week with our parent advisory committee. I'll be meeting soon with our scholars and continuing even work with our administrators just to get a good sense of their feedback on the current strategic plan, where we believe we've made some real progress and where we believe there's still lots of room for improvement. And we've run the gamut of feedback from really thinking creatively and critically at the vision and mission statements and any pieces that might be missing there. It sounds like there's still lots of strong commitment to those statements, but there are a few things that folks have brought up. One thing in particular was about community and accountability, separately and together. In those statements. And so we'll continue to gather information and we'll be working to try to piece that information together and even to bring back at the next convening of stakeholders on April the 11th some drafting of language for the strategic plan and where there may be some competing priorities, start to share a bit of that. So just wanted to give you some feedback on that. It's continuing to work through the process. Also in our planning, our facilities repurposing advisory committee met last week. Was that last week? Met last week, or met on March 7th. I think it was a week before. They had a very, very productive meeting. Following a request for interest, RFI that we issued, focused on 3 properties in particular: Baker Elementary School, French Elementary School, and Woodville Heights Elementary School. We got a little bit of feedback and interest in those buildings. The interest seems to be more broadly in one or more of our facilities and not specifically those. So we're continuing to consider the interest that was shown in those buildings, but we had some conversation with the advisory committee. Generally, they're prepared to move forward with actually demolishing those properties, which is what our team has recommended. But before we go there, we will be holding on April 4th a community meeting at Cardozo Middle School, just to make sure that we get any final feedback from community members about those three in particular, remembering that we've got about 20 plus other properties around the city that we may utilize for, or that individuals or entities might utilize for one purpose or another. But all in all, the repurposing committee is continuing their work. At the next meeting, and I believe the next meeting is also on April 4th, of the repurposing committee, facilities repurposing committee, we will finalize, my hope is that we will finalize the criteria and the process going forward for all of our properties, and issuing requests for proposals or making them available for sale or lease or what have you, and a clearer timeline for each of them. Conventional wisdom around that is that we not just put them all out on the market at once, but that we batch them based on several criteria, ones that may be in a particular area, or where we've already seen or heard some interest, or where they seem to be in better condition for move-in use and that sort of thing. So our committee will help us to think through which ones we issue at which times, and not flood the market, but give some really close focused attention to a group of those properties, and then moving on in a rolling basis to consider repurposing. But wanted to give you that feedback. We're excited to continue and to see some forward movement. And I will tell you that following the community meeting on the 4th at Cardozo, we will determine, at that point, if we're ready to come to the board with a strong recommendation for at least those first three buildings that I mentioned, Baker, French, and Woodville Heights. All right. I want to do share some follow-up information regarding optimization. As you'll recall, we, as we're planning to close out the year for and operations at some of our schools, and some consolidations in that. Along with that is the required rezoning of schools. Obviously, you don't just close 11 or more schools and not have to redraw lines. So a part of that work is redrawing the boundaries, the zones, for each of our individual elementaries, for middles, and for high schools. As we've gone further into that, and we've worked with our enrollment teams at regarding just the space at the schools, our facilities teams, and school leadership, of course, and our transportation team, that has really helped to inform some of the work around school zones. And so our teams are finalizing communications out to families, and we should have that out in the next few days in terms of where scholars are being zoned, and any carve-outs that may exist as a result of any changes in their school assignment, and especially with regard to siblings, and if a family should need to retain their current assignment at a school, what that will mean for them with regard to transportation. We've had some real challenges, and I think the board knows this. We've had some real challenges with our transportation service. We don't want to go into another year with those same challenges and not being able to deliver our scholars to school on time consistently every day. And so we're having to make some really tough decisions around that. And so that, too, again, is informing some of the decisions around school boundaries and zones. So more on that on that issue, but just wanted to lift up that this work is continuing to unfold, and that we'll be communicating more directly with families and scholars regarding their school assignments going forward. Talked about the Administrator of the Year. I want to share, Dr. Merritt is actually returning back to the district today, traveling back today, but he's represented our district at the legislative conference of the Council of the Great City Schools. It was held in Washington, D.C. But he has reported no less than 3 times, maybe 4 or 5 times to me, specific celebrations and accolades that our district has garnered at this one conference. And I'll share a few of those. Dr. Ray Hart, who's the executive director of the Council of the Great City Schools, and many of you know of or have done some work or communicated with Dr. Hart as a result of their work with us. But Dr. Hart emphasized the notable advancements in both reading and math achievement, as was highlighted in the recent national reports about our work and especially our acceleration since the pandemic. And that, of course, is the work of all of our school-based teams, our teachers, our school leaders, interventionists, counselors, all the families, our scholars, all the folks who are working really, really hard to ensure that scholars meet with success. But that was highlighted at least twice at this conference. In addition, Dr. Michael Casserly, who is the former executive director of the Council of Great City Schools, and he too has done some work with us. He reported to Dr. Merritt that he's finalizing, will soon release a book, because who's not going to tell a story? Going to release a book in which JPS is highlighted, and especially the road that we've traveled, the challenges that we faced early on, but as well accomplishes that we've made and we've achieved over time. We're one of the many districts here, and I believe the overall kind of focus there is the work of district leadership and boards and what it takes to achieve great outcomes on behalf of children and families. So we're excited to be named in that. Yes, a very big deal, and a national publication. Wood Peck, who's the executive vice president of Curriculum Associates, a really big curriculum company in the States, commended Mississippi's only urban school district for its math success, noting the use of their product, of course, Ready Math, as our core curriculum in math instruction. But, you know, at this point, I'm good with folks attaching themselves to our success. The reality is we did it, and people are taking note and using their platforms to acknowledge us. Support of the support and leadership of our JPS board was acknowledged by several, actually, attributing the district's gains and our work to your commitment to student success and engaging deeply with us as a school team. And one body of work that they especially, again, more than once, called out was the optimization plan and your willingness to take on these big issues in spite of the fact that they're hard and that there is no easy answers there. And lastly, in the accolades division, the Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education, Cindy Martin, shouted us out when she was making some remarks and conveyed her best wishes and support of the work that we're doing here in our district. So little bitty Jackson, Mississippi, while we're quietly doing our work here, folks around the country are lifting us up and taking note of the work that we're doing. So just wanted you to know that our work is not going unnoticed.
Dr. Green, that's an amazing report. Thank you so much for sharing. Will the board at least get a little one-pager of each of these accolades that you've named so we can brag?
I can. I absolutely will. Can you hold me to that, Rosalind?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right.
That is so good, and it would be nice if it was attributed to and at least mentioned that we are part of the Mississippi Miracle.
Yes. Well, listen. When I was in the last few, and I didn't really highlight some of the conferences where I've been and spoke on panels and that, but I've been very clear that it is not a miracle. It is hard work of a bunch of the people in this room and otherwise doing work that is not always popular and certainly isn't easy. But and so there are a few of us who've been on message with there's no miracle there. It's work. It's not magic. It's hard work and sustained hard work. So yes, to your point on that. Lastly, board members, I want to take a few minutes to recognize excellence in the room. And that's with our athletics program. Congratulations to the Chastain Warriors, girls and boys basketball teams on their outstanding winning seasons. They are the JPS City Champs, and they went on to compete in state competitions. And so tonight, we'll start with recognitions with our girls basketball team led by Coach Christian, and she'll be followed by Coach Fisher and the boys team. Coach Christian, are you in the house? I don't see you. There you are. Yes. You want to come on up and introduce the girls? The Chastain Warriors. In uniform.
Good evening, you all. I'm Coach Latidra Christian at Chastain Middle School, coach of the Lady Warriors, champions right in front of you.
Yes.
I would like to first thank you all for having us today, welcoming us into the board meeting today to join you all. First, I would like to recognize Christian Gates, Jamelia Nichols, Alana Holden, Jalea Bibbs, Jakaria Williams, Alicia Clanton, Marquisia Kincaid, Elani Crutchfield, Noel Bryant, Mikael McClin, Trinity Calvin, Jemiah Scott, Zaya Calvin, Journey Ransom, Kamoriana Roberts, Janiyah Williams, and my manager, Danielle McLean.
Nice.
Again, thank you all for having us.
You see this young lady?
They got subs, bro.
Three, two, one. Just roll right. I can't see the lady right here. Yeah. 3, 2. Everyone hold your certificates up, okay?
Not in front of your face.
Right here, please. 1, 2, 3. Go right there. 1, 2. One more time. And 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Superstars, people. Coach Fisher.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
I want to also thank you all for having us this evening. I also want to thank our leadership in our building, Principal Terrell, Principal Whitley. I also want to thank our athletic director, Mr. Darrell Jones. He couldn't be with us today because he have a district track meet today. I want to first acknowledge our boys. They are my first back-to-back champions. They're not just champions this year, they're back-to-back champions. Over the past 2 years, they are 36-2. So they have been dominant. So that's primarily the reason for our absence today. A lot of them they're in high demand, basically. They are AAU teams right now. They have games today. My young man right here is late for practice because he wanted to actually be here today. He's missing a game because he wanted to be here today. So I just want to really just stress the importance of athletics. Most of our scholars, they lead the district in attendance. They're the best behaved kids in school. Correct?
That's right.
Course performance. PL4 scholars. They're in our HIT programs, which means they're right on the edge of being PL4 scholars. So I just want to stress the importance of athletics. Like, it makes a difference.
Yes.
And most guys that play on my championship teams, they go on to bring state championships to the city. So I just want to thank my assistant coach, Coach Jackson. It won't be that hard to take our picture, so let's get that done.
This is just practice. They're going to have many more honors like this, so don't worry. They'll get used to the camera.
Yeah.
Right? Amen?
Amen.
They'll get used to the camera. Congratulations to the Chastain Warriors. I see our principal in the house. You want to stand up and show the people? The championship principal looks like. I want to thank you for your leadership. Thank you to the team who's here, and of course to all the players and families who were able to be here. Just appreciate all of your commitment to your athletics, but also understanding that you are student athletes, scholar athletes, and so we appreciate Coach Fisher's words as well, the importance of showing up in the classroom as well as on the court. And so kudos to you. We're very proud of you and looking forward to what, a three-peat? We're going to do a three-peat to the boys? Yes, we can do that. As you continue, in other pursuits, in other spaces. All right, with that, I Want to wrap up? Thank you so much, Dr. Sivak. I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Green. And just again, shout out to the Chastain Warriors, both the men's and the women's team. Just always wonderful to have students in the boardroom. On a personal note, in addition to being an amazing coach, I know Coach Fisher is one heck of a math teacher as well, so I want to lift that up as well.
Hey.
All right. Let's move on, board. I don't believe we have any public comment tonight, so lost my script, but effectively, the board does take public comment very seriously, and any community members who would like to make public comment should email their request to Ms. Rosalind Williams at roswilliams@jackson.k12.ms.us no later than 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, or appear in person at the boardroom no later than 5:15 p.m. All right, we'll move on to our agenda now. We have information-only items. I'll invite Mr. Warren Bowen with Triage Facility Consultants up to the podium to give us our ESSER 3 update.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
It's certainly a pleasure to be here. I'm Warren Bowen. This is Devin Boone. We will be presenting an update from January 16th to February the 15th, 2024. So, Devin?
All right, good evening once again. So we are excited about all of the progress that's taken place throughout the district. To begin, the topics addressed will be our project updates, scheduling, as well as the budget updates. We'll start our first project, which is Powell Middle School. As of February 15th, we were at 74.8% complete. As of now, though, this project is wrapped up. We have just a few punch list items, so we're excited to announce that this project is ready to have an official substantial completion. We have the installation of sinks in the restrooms, boys and girls. All of the classroom windows have been installed, and this project is practically wrapped up. We're really excited about that. Moving forward, we have McLeod. You might see 66.7%, but that is as of February 15th. Just like with Powell, this project is practically wrapped up. We're just awaiting the official substantial completion. All of the boys and girls restrooms have been completed. All of the gang restrooms, staff restrooms, the millwork in the classrooms, that's done. So again, we're really, really excited about the progress that's taking place. Crews worked hard over the break to get this project wrapped up. Next, we're going to discuss Pecan Park. I feel like the video stole some of our thunder, but as you can see here, as of the 15th, we are 32% complete. Crews are working intensively to make sure this project is ready for scholars on July 15th. That interior should be wrapped up with this scope of the project. As far as the exterior is concerned, we are trying to have that wrapped up by August 31st. Of course, that'll be on or before. That's our push with the contracts there at Pecan Park. Next, we have Career Development Center. You see here, as of only 2%. Of course, as of now, there's more work that's been done. The demolition has gone well there. New plumbing has been installed. CMU blocks. The scope of the project is going really well. We haven't run into any hiccups. We're looking forward to successful completion of this project and on time. Jim Hill, another big project. We're really proud of the progress taking place at Jim Hill, getting the appropriate indoor HVAC equipment for all of our scholars. You see here the installation of pipes in the boiler room, which is very, very important. No hiccups at all with this project right here. We are on track to be completed, and that is going to be by June 5th, 2024. Really excited with the progress going on there. Moving on, we'll move to Bailey APEC. Another project where there's a lot going on. We're really, really proud of the progress going on there. When you go to this site, you see the metal stud framing, painting, interior work being done, HVAC work being done. Contractors are working really, really hard to have this project completed by September 1st of 2024. And next, we'll move on to Package B. We are excited to announce that work is taking place. At Callaway, we have a couple of units have been installed. Kirksey, the work has been completed there. We're just awaiting the substantial completion. North Jackson and McWillie, equipment is waiting to be installed, and contractors are waiting with crews to get this project wrapped up as soon as possible. These projects are all on schedule. We're elated to announce that we have the following projects that are substantially completed. You see here on the list, Wells APEC, Boyd Elementary, Witten, John Hopkins, and Boyd and Green with those window replacements. And we're excited about these projects that are now in contract phase and moving on to construction. At Casey and Northwest, upgrades to the HVAC at Casey, Galloway, Span, and Whitten, improvements at Capital City, and really excited about what's in store at Murrah and Provine. So that concludes our updates, and if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead with those at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. Board members, any questions, comments?
I just wanted to say congrats on getting a lot of these to substantial completion. These are that's a really cool thing to see as it goes. And I also just want to point out, this isn't really a question, but I mean, I would love to get y'all to talk about some of the major scopes that we're seeing at places like Pecan Park in West Jackson, and places like Bailey over by me, and places like CDC. I mean, these are interior, exterior, the amount of work that's being done at those sites. I mean, you mentioned they're kind of buzzing. I've been by 2 of them and seen, it's like 100 workers. I mean, it's a lot of people, right? Yes. So can you talk about just I know you mentioned this, but the phasing of interior work, exterior work, when we get to make fun announcements, that sort of stuff. I'd just love to hear about it.
Well, we'll start with Bailey. Okay, Bailey, for example, Bailey is a really aggressively moving project from HVAC. So much of the pipe. We put in a chiller system there, a new chiller system there, and the piping system has been completed. Now that is a tremendous amount of work because it requires drilling through historic buildings, which they really built buildings back then. So it's a different ball game. And so that is aggressively moving. The painting, so what they've done is, and I appreciate this about the contractors, what they did, they secured this place and they turned on enough environmental control equipment to allow them to expedite some of the painting in the building. So things like that, things like the ceiling systems and the sheetrock work that's going on, the metal stud framing, they are really working in sync as a contractor to move that project forward pretty aggressively, along with the roof system.
And in a place like that, I mean, I'm right, I think, but I would just want to get y'all to kind of acknowledge that so that the community understands. Part of that project is also addressing, issues that they've had with water in the building. Part of that project is addressing issues that they've had with issues that they could have with lead paint. All of these sort of real safety issues. You talked about HVACs. You can look through this presentation and see the number of places where y'all are overseeing projects, completely reworking HVAC systems, and in some places supplementing those HVAC systems. I think we all know how big a deal that was, especially this past year, but in years prior as well.
Yes, sir.
So just acknowledging the impact on student safety at a lot of these schools is tremendous.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's it.
Yeah, and just underscoring you were getting at this, the depth, the scope of the work at Bailey, and you can tell me if I've got this tiering right. I would probably say Bailey, Pecan Park, Jim Hill, in terms of the scope of the work happening.
Right on point.
Yeah.
Yes,
and likely the dollars spent.
Absolutely, the dollars
on each of them.
Yes, sir.
And we've had to. You'll recall that Bailey, we're working through this next year, right? So this substantial completion date is as it is, and there's likely some additional projects.
Yes, sir.
That we'll pick up at Bailey because we're already investing in the building. We need to make sure that the building is what we need it to be. Just some ADA things, I believe, that will address some parking issues and some others.
And some historic issues that we can't get around.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
I mean, in Pecan Park, I mean, I know that the exterior is sort of under wrap, literally under wrap, but
yes.
You go by and see the fingerprint on that building, and you can see how much of it they're touching, and the exterior framework for the staircasing and all this stuff. I mean, it is an incredible amount of work, and the amount of foundational repair and all the stuff that's happening off that, I guess, the right side of I think it's the right side of the building where they've got the new staircase and everything.
Yes,
it's an amazing project.
It's a lot of work going on, and it takes a good contractor to really be able to sync all that, because it's so easy to get in the way of each other. So very easy.
Pecan Park will likely rival any of our other schools in terms of the appeal.
I don't think
appeal.
there's any doubt about that. Yeah.
So I'm excited for those babies to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Go back in there.
Any other? All right. Thank you, Ms. Boone. Thank you, Ms. Bowen. We look
Thank you.
forward to the next month's report.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, board members. Next, we'll invite Dr. Regina Scott, our Executive Director of School Support, to take us through a review of our school improvement benchmark results. Dr. Scott.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Sivak, board members, Superintendent Dr. Green, and JPS family. The Jackson Public School District Office of School Support presents for information purposes only school year 23-24 school improvement updates for schools that are identified as comprehensive support and improvement, additional targeted support and improvement, and schools at risk. Captured in each report, you will find the following: the overall school proficiency goals, benchmarks 1 and 2 assessment proficiency results, student enrollment and attendance data, and disciplinary infractions. This month's report was updated to include February 2024 student enrollment, attendance, and disciplinary data for each school. We did get a few questions, and so I want to read those for you and the responses. Is the drop in proficiency rates correlated with increases in the participation rate? There is no evidence that there's a correlation there. It's not consistent for all schools, and so it just happened by chance for those schools where there was a drop. The second question, do we anticipate improvement over benchmark 1 by benchmark 3 on reading and math in all of the middle schools? The following strategies were put in place after term 2. 1, high-impact tutorials began a few weeks prior to spring break. So this happened at all of our middle schools. The second thing that was put in place was curriculum training has been provided to all teachers with the visas, and that is in the area of mathematics. Additionally, all of the middle school division coaches have begun teaching with the lowest data, teaching in schools with the lowest data. So they're providing that instruction directly to students. And another thing that has been provided is support has been strategically placed in those schools with the lowest performing students so that we can maximize the impact. And specifically, we're talking about our vendors. So some of our support days that would normally, for some of the schools, that they had 2 or 3 days remaining for the school year, well, those days have been pooled for those schools that have the lowest performing students. So maybe for in the area of ELA, 2 schools have 9 days total rather than all schools possibly having 2 days remaining for the school year. So that support has been pooled for those schools most at risk. And then our division, middle school division coaches are, again, teaching in those schools that do not have the remaining support days. The last question we received, could you provide the raw data for the actual number of students that scored proficient in reading and math at the middle schools in school improvement following benchmark 2? So I included a chart there for you, and the totals, the number of students that are proficient in ELA includes all of our 6th through 8th grade students at each school. So for Blackburn, there are 78 students proficient in ELA and 31 in math. Cardozo, 101 in ELA and 23 in math. Powell, there are 47 students proficient in ELA and 26 in math. Witten, 43 in ELA, 10 in math, and Kirksey, 75 in ELA and 38 in math.
I want to also, and correct me if I'm wrong, recall board members that we recruited and hired, brought in additional math teachers and specifically our teachers from the Philippines, to help to fill the large number, really, of vacancies that we had in mathematics, many of them in our middle schools and in high schools, most of them in our middle schools and high schools. And so, in addition to just the ongoing trials and challenges we've had in math instruction, some of this number is a direct result of just not having the staffing until early December or mid-December or somewhere around there. And so we absolutely expect that we'll see some jumps coming out of second benchmark into third benchmark. And I believe they're taking third benchmark now.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Board members, any other questions, comments? Great, thank you for the updates. All right, board members, next we'll move on to our information action items. We have the request to approve the signing incentives addendum for school year 2024-2025. Dr. Knowles is here to provide this information. He is our Director of Recruitment. Dr. Knowles.
All right. Good evening.
Good
Dr.
evening.
Green, Board President CVAC, members of the board. The administration is requesting approval of the recruitment incentive contract addendum for school year 24-25. So, of course, this incentive is offered to new teachers to attract and retain those new teachers to Jackson Public School District in our hard-to-staff areas, critical need areas, as well as our career pathway CTE positions, while always advancing the district's vision, mission, and goals.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Board members, any questions, comments? Dr. Knowles, I have two questions. The first is, how does our signing incentive stack up with similarly structured retention tools in neighboring districts?
Yeah, so we actually, I did an internet search and I called. We actually called all of the neighboring districts in the Metro Jackson area, which include 6 districts. I don't know if you want me to name them all.
It's all good.
But we called each one to verify with their recruitment teams and HR departments to see if they offer any incentives, and right now they do not.
Okay.
And so we're the only district in this area that actually offers a recruitment incentive to attract new teachers to the district, which also doubles as a retention incentive as well. So, of course, you know, each teacher that agrees to receive the incentive signs on to teach in that critical need area or a hard-to-staff or critical need area for the duration of 3 years over the time that they're with us. And so what I did is I just kind of looked across the country to see what districts in other states offer recruitment incentives and what those amounts look like, and I provided an example in the report that I provided to you all earlier this week.
They haven't seen it as yet.
Oh, they haven't? Okay, so our list. So we looked at Stockton Unified School District in Stockton, California. They provide an incentive up to $10,000 with an approximate student population of 35,000. So just to kind of give you an idea of how our district compares to theirs. The closest one will be Stanley County Schools in Albemarle, North Carolina. They offer an incentive up to $5,000, and they have a student population they have a student population of 8,500. The closest to us would be Hartford Public Schools in Hartford, Connecticut, that offer up to $3,000 with a student population of 16,500. Oklahoma Public Schools, they have a statewide incentive, Oklahoma does, that offers up to actually $50,000, which doubles as a tuition scholarship for teachers to help support them with certification in those areas. So it's a little bit more involved, but they do offer one. And then the schools in Muskegon County, they offer an incentive up to $15,000, and it varies. The amount varies depending on the school district within that county or the schools within that county and the number of students that they have.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. And I also appreciate all the data that you sent in anticipation of questions, probably. So it was very helpful. What's your sense? Is it high enough? Is it something? How often should we revisit it?
I think we're right on par based on the needs that we have, the amount that we're offering. I think we're actually one of the better incentives that are offered to new teachers within our state, really. I think we revisit it on a yearly basis, which I think is right on track. And as the needs of the district change, we can always readjust the money that we have and that we're using to maybe address some other needs that we have for staffing and certification, maybe to focus in on some of those key harder to staff areas that we know we have a hard time finding, such as special education, elementary ed, and definitely mathematics.
Doc, if you don't mind, why don't you, for the public and for those who might watch this online, just quickly name the tiers and the stipends or the incentives?
Absolutely. So we offer 3 different tiers. The first one is our critical need tier that focuses particularly on content areas like English, special education, science. I hate to name them like that, I might miss one, but that one is up to $5,000, which is spread over 3 years. We tend to front load the incentive, so they'll receive half the first year, $2,500 the first year, $1,500 the second year, and then $1,000 the third year. So the first one is really enticing to really want them to commit to receive that sizable bonus and then make sure that we have them for the remaining 2 years. The second tier will be our hard to staff. This focuses on mathematics, elementary education, English as a second language, all of those very hard to staff areas. We offer $7,500 for those, $7,500, and it's structured same way. We front load it. They receive $2,000 the first year. $3,500 the first year, $2,000 the second year, and $2,000 the third year. And then for our CTE incentives, those are our career pathway incentives. We put those in place just last year to help support staffing needs at our Career Development Center in order to compete with the industry for the professionals that will fill those spaces. We offered a $10,000 bonus, and it's front loaded as well. $4,000 the first year, $3,000, and then $3,000 the last year.
Just so I know, are these sort of stackable? You mentioned this thing in Oklahoma, and that's what made me ask the question. Right, we've got kids who are going into middle college. We've got connections with other universities. Are those people eligible for these incentives as well? I mean,
so yes, right. Currently, we are stacking. So a lot of quite a few of the individuals who are receiving the bonus now may have started out as a provisionally certified teacher that we supported through our partnerships with local colleges and universities. And so if they get their certification in an area of need, we incentivize them on top of the commitment that they've already made if they accept the incentive. Yeah. And it's we're supporting them, but they're also supporting us by staying with us longer. And what I really like about the incentive is that it really, people who are already a part of the community, who don't really plan on going anywhere and really want to, it incentivizes them to really come in, get the certification they need to be able to have the impact they need to have with our scholars. So.
That's great. That was, when you said something about the tuition incentive and all those sorts of things, that's what spurred it in my head to think, we've got scholars who are going to enter into, likely enter into college with a commitment to come and teach, and they may be eligible to get more money just because.
Let alone, and you're reminding me, national board certification.
Yes.
Though that could be an additional if you earn national board.
Yeah, because that's a completely separate incentive and fund of money. So if teachers obtain national board certification, they're automatically eligible. I think it's $6,000. It's a $6,000 stipend that they receive on top of their teaching salary for obtaining their national board certification. So.
Unless and until we can get the legislature to add Hinds County as one of the targeted areas, that would add another $4,000 to the national board certification incentive.
Yeah. And they offer that not just for teachers, but also I think for counselors and librarians, if I'm not mistaken.
How would you rate the retention of people that get this extra money for the district?
Yes, ma'am. So the incentive, the way it's currently instructed, has been in place actually for 4 years. So the first group to actually just finished this past school year. We had 16 that actually complete, and of the 16 that finished the incentive, 12 still remain with the district teaching in those critical need areas. So Totally, we've approved about 162 total through the incentive program, the way that it's currently constructed. And we've had a 81% success rate. Only 31 teachers have ended up resigning or actually resigning from the district. And so I think based on that, we're doing a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Really appreciate the update. I believe, board members, this requires an approval. So is there a motion to approve our teacher incentive program?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Harrison has moved. Ms. Figurs has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the request to approve the CTE program changes for fiscal year 2025. Dr. Cook, our principal at the Career Development Center, will present this information. Dr. Cook.
Good evening, Dr. Sivak, board members, Superintendent Green, and JPS family. The administration is recommending board approval of the CTE program changes for fiscal year 2025. And excuse me, upon this approval by the school board, the CTE program changes will be implemented beginning in the 24-25 school year. These changes will be the addition of a unit of computer science and engineering at Murrah High School, 2 units at Callaway High School being computer science and engineering and family and consumer science. And our final program change will be a program conversion to business, marketing, and finance at Provine High School to support their business academy.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. Board members, any questions, comments?
That's good news.
Well, just one comment. The most interesting thing to me in here was the sort of Q&A that y'all provided, talking about the local area needs assessments and things like that. And, I just think looking at the job, the work that y'all did, looking at the job market, trying to figure out where the opportunities are for our scholars is laudable and is frankly really interesting. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I just want to kind of lift it up, the data that y'all were looking at to do this work.
Yes, sir. And, we're required by Perkins, to do an assessment of what workforce is like in our area. And, Jackson is a little different than the greater Hinds County area. And for all of our current programming, there does exist need in the workforce for what we're offering. And what these additions will do for us at this point is still expand into our enhancement programs to get that. And I'm pretty sure that next year we will have some significant changes in light of, some of the economic development that is coming to our area.
Great. Any additional questions, comments? The only thing I'll flag, did you note the you got it? Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams. There was just some language and support letter. All right. Board members, we have a lot of these. I don't think they're controversial, so we're just going to take them all at once and vote on at the end. So thank you, Dr. Cook. We'll invite Attorney Harris to the podium to request approval of the Legacy Scholars Grant Agreement between Equal Justice Initiative and the Jackson Public School District. Attorney Harris.
Good evening, board members, board president, Dr. Sivak, Superintendent Dr. Green, community members. The Office of the General Counsel has recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the grant agreement between the Equal Justice Initiative and the Jackson Public School District on behalf of its Career Development Center. The Career Development Center applied for and was awarded a Legacy Scholars Grant to cover the cost for 40 students and 4 chaperones to visit the Legacy Museum from Enslavement to Mass Incarceration, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, and the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park in Montgomery, Alabama, overnight from April the 24th through the 25th. The grant will be used to cover the cost of transportation, meals, lodging, entry into the museum, and other reasonable costs associated with traveling to Montgomery, Alabama. The amount of the grant award is $7,235, and this will be our first overnight trip for the scholars.
I caught that piece. Great, thank you. Any questions, comments?
I'm just excited. I'm just excited. Excited that our students get to experience this, and especially the new Memorial Park. I haven't seen it myself. It wasn't open last week.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Yeah, we all learned as a group that it takes more than one trip, one day to see the museum, so we're excited they're getting the opportunity to have more time there.
This is going to be good. I wish you all, I don't know if y'all could or not, but visit the Mothers of Gynecology Park.
Where's that?
It's there. Okay. Right around the corner. It's really nice. Mothers of Gynecology Park. They have funding too.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Turner Harris. Thank you for continuing to provide leadership to this really important body of work. Next, we have the request to approve an amendment with Edmentum. Mrs. Blackshear, our Director of Planning and Evaluation, will provide this information.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Board President Dr. Sivak, board members, Superintendent Dr. Green. On behalf of Dr. Evans, the administration recommends amending the agreement between Edmentum and JPS previously approved at the February 6th board meeting. The purpose of this amendment is to eliminate the district's payment for the end of the year benchmark assessment. By doing so, the district plans to increase the payment previously agreed upon in the MOU for the MAP state assessment. The increased payment will be issued to the provider for every student who achieves proficiency, that's a performance level of a 4 and 5 on their state assessment, and the program's duration was also extended to April the 19th.
Thank you, Mrs. Blackshear. Board members, any questions, comments? Great, thank you. Next, we have the request to approve. We have the request to approve the request to rescind and revise the 16-section lease agreement with Big River Energy to include different appraisal provisions. Mr. Will Jackson, our Executive Director of Assets and Property, will present this information.
Good evening, Dr. Sivak, board members, Dr. Green, members of the JPS family. The administration recommends a rescission and revision to amend the March 5th, 2024 16-section lease agreement with Big River Energy. The proposed changes to include a different appraisal provision requiring the property values to be reassessed every 5 years instead of every 8 years. I think that was one of the questions that have been asked in the past. And the second question was how would the property be used? It's the construction operation, and they'll be grinding concrete in the rock for resale.
The initial lease that we approved has had an appraisal time period of 8 years, and this shortens it to 5 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions, board members, comments? Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Next, we have the request to approve the agreement with IMS Engineers for District's Limited Tax Note Program. Mrs. Margaret Purnell, our Executive Director of Business Services, will present this information.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The board president, Dr. Sivak, board members, Superintendent Dr. Green, JPS family, and our constituents. On behalf of Mr. Burke, in his absence, the administration recommends approval of a consulting service agreement with IMS Engineers to provide consulting services for the District Limited Tax Note Program. This consulting service agreement grants IMS Engineers Incorporated authorization to support the district's assessment of potential projects that we plan to use with the limited tax notes of roughly approximately $41 million. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Purnell. Board members, any questions? The only question I had was there is a ceiling, correct, in there up to $150,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
I noticed it, but I just wanted to flag that. And so obviously, if there's a need to go over it, it will come back to the board with the request and recommendation.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mrs. Purnell. Board members, Mrs. Purnell is also here to request approval of the monthly financial report for the month ended February 29, 2024. Mrs. Purnell.
Okay. Board members again, on behalf of Mr. Burke, the administration recommends that the board approve the monthly financial report for the month ending February 29, 2024. First, we'll start off with the general funds on the statement of fund balance. If you all have in your report, the fund balance as of February 29, 2024 was approximately $11.2 million, which is about $7 million lower than what it was last year at this time. The expenditures exceed revenues approximately about $11.7 million. Our 16th section revenue is on the rise. We're about 87.9% of budget at this point. We have collected about $818,000 currently. Also on the special revenue funds that we're working with, child nutrition continues to have a significant fund balance supporting our school cafeteria operations. Also to note in that the child nutrition program has a plan to spend some of those funds and those dollars for various purposes, mainly to do remodeling in some of our schools that are closed and that will reopen in the fall of this year, and also do some different things with the serving line and just different things in the cafeteria as a whole. I know some of the major things that they are working with will also include Murrah High School, Jim Hill, and Israel, along with the schools that are already closed that they will be working toward to reopen at this point in time. Also, on the special revenue funds, we have about $11.2 million is in negative on our state balances and our federal funds on that. As of the 12th of March, we have requested approximately about $5 million of those funds currently, leaving us a balance of about $6.8 million is still left that we will be requesting later on. Part of that, the reason why we have not or will not have not requested so far is because we have some ESSER dollars that has to be revised. There are some programs, there are some budgets that has to be revised in order for us to expend on those, to request on those dollars that have already been expended. And those have to be approved through the Mississippi Department of Education. So when those revisions have been actually reviewed and submitted and approved, then the district will have the opportunity to request those dollars at that time. Also, on the budget status, so what I wanted to mention on that, $4.2 million of the so that we don't have represents the ESSER dollars, is what I wanted to bring to the attention of the board. On the budget status report, we have the district maintenance anticipated revenue of what we have collected so far is about 57.8% of the budget currently. The expenditures, we have expended about 63.6% of their budget, which represents what was stated previously, that our collected versus expended is about $11.7 million over that amount at this point. The bank reconciliation, make a correction, is as of January 31st, 2024, all of our bank statements are with board-approved depositories, and the bank accounts have been reconciled appropriately. Cash flow, as of February the 29th, 2024, our ending cash balance was approximately $5 million. Compared to February 2023, it was like 7.4. That's a 32% decrease from the prior year's position. And board members, as you may recall, I'm sure Mr. Burke reported last month that our charter school payments was roughly about $1.3 million more than what was the year before. So that does contribute to part of our cash flow difference that you see from the 5 to the 7.4. Other management key performance indicator reports, some headlines or highlights that Mr. Burke likes to bring to the board's attention is that our overall revenue collected year to date is $3.8 million, which is 3.2% less than last year. Our expenditures is $3.9 million, 3.2 greater than last year. Our Avalon year to date is 1.4 less than last year, And our personnel and benefits is year-to-date is $888,000 greater than last year. Just a few highlights. I think that we all know that the salaries and benefits contribute to the salary increase. So, of course, it was budgeted, and therefore it would be higher than what it was previously. Our ad valorem, as we all know, Board, you may recall, that what we do is we take the charter school payments are reduced from our ad valorem collections. So therefore, that 1.4 pretty much represents part of that 1.3 that we do not have in ad valorem collections at this time. So we're kind of on target for where we have been in the past. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Purnell. I have two questions. The first one was, you mentioned revisions to the ESSER payments. What was the reason for the need to revise those payments?
Mainly, I think some of the issues are with some of the projects that we have at different schools and in the closure of with the optimization plan, with different things where we have to move some some budgets from one place to go to someplace else. So in order to do those, we're going to have to make some revisions in order to get that done. So that's where some of those revisions are done, so we can move forward.
And Doc, excuse me, Doc. You've been good about asking pretty regularly, are we on track to spend those ESSER funds? These revisions, this is one of the strategies helping us to spend all the funds. When we get down the road and have a bid that we have to reject, or a project comes in a bit over what we had anticipated, these revisions help us to move some of the money around so that we're not stuck with the original plan and the dollars aren't we wouldn't be spending down the dollars as originally anticipated. And so it's through these revisions that we're able to move those dollars, either leftover dollars, to another project, or if we find that, the timing of this work, or we can't get it done, or we can't get the chillers or whatever, if we can't get the supplies in time to expend it and get reimbursed, then the team is having to rethink those projects. And that's happening pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Whether it's a lot of it, as I understand, and Dr. Scott can speak to any of this, a lot of it is around the facilities projects, but there are other projects as well. I believe we moved some money even to support some of the tutoring. Is that true? Did I just make that up?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
That's correct. Yes. We're supporting a lot of the instructional projects, the initiatives that we have in the district for all of our divisions. And so to make sure that we spend the funds in a timely manner and meet the needs, we're meeting regularly. We meet tomorrow with Ms. Robinson and Ms. Franklin so that we can make some of those construction revisions. And so we just want to make sure the money is where it needs to be so that after it's spent, Ms. Purnell can draw.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Thank you.
It's a really iterative, as you're hearing, it's an iterative process.
No, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
And then, Mrs. Purnell, the other question I had was just around the ad valorem. So I know February is a big month for ad valorem. How was it? Did it come in under, over, expected?
Actually, it did come over. It came in over. We did pretty good for the month of February. If I'm not mistaken, approximately overall with all of the ad valorem funds that came, it was about $41 million as compared to $39 million that we got last year. But that's not all district. That's all over all of the funds that service along with that. The district portion of that may have been close to maybe $30 million, because as you may recall, in February we did pay the $20 million plus back on the TAN, the tax anticipation note that we did take out in last year. So we were able to pay that back, and that's what we normally use those funds during that time to do. So it came in pretty good on that one.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, board members, any more questions? If not, thank you, Mrs. Purnell. Is there a motion to approve items B through G?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, board, we have our consent agenda items. Finance, all of the agenda items for finance have been reviewed by the board previously. We had an opportunity to ask the administration questions. Board members, are there any further questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Mr. McGuffey has moved. Ms. Figurs has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have our consent agenda items general. The board has previously reviewed all of the consent agenda items, and we have not had an opportunity to ask the administration questions. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second. Barbara.
Ms. Hilliard moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda items personnel. All of the consent agenda items personnel have been reviewed by the board previously and we've had an opportunity to ask the administration's questions. Are there any further questions? I have one. Dr. Green, I noticed that there is a position in there for virtual high school.
Yes.
When do we anticipate the opening of our virtual high school?
Let me call up our assistant superintendent for high schools, who would be happy to respond to that.
Great evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We will anticipate our virtual high school program to open for the 24-25 school year. We will open our applications mid-April through mid-May, so the application period will be open for approximately 1 month. And we will start with interviews, and our families will know if they will be accepted into our small pilot, 75 scholars in 9th through 12th grades, starting in August.
Say another word just about who we're anticipating serving.
We really wanted to provide an alternative option for our families. We have students that have severe medical needs, and we're trying to support those scholars. We have students who just need another option because life has kind of turned them around, and they want to pursue and complete their high school experience, but coming in daily in that particular environment is not the most beneficial for them right now. We're looking at scholars that the students experience anxiety. We still have students right now who have severe anxiety as a result of COVID, and those students right now are being homeschooled. And so what we're looking for now is to provide an additional option for our families.
Just for clarity, this is district only, right? This is not this is not an open enrollment program as it's
That's
being
correct.
pitched in the legislature right now.
No.
That's correct.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
this is for our scholars only. It is for scholars who, for example, we have in-district transfers. So we have a family that wants to complete an in-district transfer into our district to participate. Then we would go through our regular process. That, those students are presented to the board for approval.
Great. Very exciting. Another innovation.
Dr. Green's, he's been pushing for this for some time now, and so we're just excited to be able to bring this to fruition.
Oh, we look forward to updates on it. Thank you, Mrs. Marshall Thomas. Okay, board members, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items personnel?
So moved.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Board members, we do have an item to consider for executive session. Is there a motion to close the meeting to consider executive session?
So moved.
Dr. Harrison has moved. Ms. Figurs seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Good night, everyone, and thank you.